Welcome back to the Red Conspiracy Channel. Tonight we're diving into the stuff people cannot stop arguing about online right now. Big stuff. War headlines, protests in the streets, fears about what we're eating, and then, somehow, the story that keeps exploding on everyone's feed. Those so-called frozen dragon rumors.
I swear I've seen that dragon thing everywhere. TikTok, YouTube Shorts, random accounts on every platform. People dropping these dramatic captions like, "Explorers found dragons trapped in ice," and then the comment section melts down.
Every time it resurfaces, it's the same cycle. Some folks are fully convinced it's real. Others go straight to, "the government is hiding it." And a lot of people are just sitting there like, okay, what is this actually?
So we're going to work through all of it. Not just the dragon thing, but why these stories take off in the first place. Let's start with the biggest backdrop to all the online tension right now. War and global conflict.
Because that's what everyone's doom scrolling, right? Maps, troop movements, speeches, breaking news banners. People are watching leaders shake hands like it's a chess move.
And when that kind of fear is in the air, conspiracy content always spikes. It's not even new. Look at history, major wars, Cold War periods, modern standoffs. When global tension rises, people go looking for hidden explanations, because the real explanation is messy and scary.
Exactly. When things feel out of control, the idea that someone, somewhere, has a secret plan can almost feel comforting. Like, at least somebody's driving the car, even if it's a villain.
But that's the trap, right? The idea that everything is one neat plot. It's usually not. Real geopolitical events are tangled. There are competing interests, miscommunications, internal disagreements, accidents, miscalculations. Sometimes it's not a master plan. It's just chaos.
And yes, governments do withhold information sometimes. That part isn't even controversial. But jumping from some information is withheld to there's one secret blueprint controlling the whole world is a huge leap.
All right, from war to something that often shows up right alongside it, protests and social movements.
Protests are happening in a lot of places because people feel unheard, unsafe, or squeezed. And it's not just one topic. It can be about war, elections, corruption, human rights, economic pressure, housing, food prices. That list goes on forever.
And social media basically turns protests into instant global events. One clip gets posted, it hits the algorithm, and suddenly people across the world are debating what happened like they were standing there.
Which can be powerful. It can raise awareness fast.
But it also means misinformation can travel at the exact same speed. A cropped video, an old photo reposted like it's new, a misleading caption, and now millions of people have a false version of events locked in.
And the problem is, by the time someone posts the correction, the emotional version already went viral.
Now let's move into another topic that's been huge online. Food conspiracy rumors. This one is everywhere lately.
Yeah, people post these videos like, "Look at this processed food doing something weird," or they show a texture and the comments instantly go, "They're putting plastic in it," or "That's not real food," or "Corporations are experimenting on us."
And look, I get why it hits a nerve. Food is personal. It's what you feed your kids, what you eat every day. So when someone suggests it's secretly dangerous, that fear spreads fast.
But here's what we have to separate. Real concerns about nutrition, additives, labeling, and corporate behavior are one thing. The extreme claims about massive secret experiments happening everywhere, all the time, scientifically speaking, there's no verified evidence for that.
And in a lot of developed countries, food safety systems are actually pretty strict. Not perfect, but regulated. There are inspections, reporting requirements, recalls, standards.
That said, accidents can happen in any large manufacturing system. Contamination is real, mistakes are real, equipment failures are real. But that's different from an intentional hidden plot. The internet loves to take a real possibility and inflate it into a movie script.
Okay, now we hit the story everybody wants to hear about. The frozen dragon story. Alaska, Antarctica, sometimes it changes depending on who's telling it.
It's always the same vibe, though. Explorers discover giant dragon skeleton preserved in ice, and then there's a blurry picture or an obviously dramatic image, and people are like, how is this not front-page news?
So let's be clear, there's no credible evidence that mythological, fire-breathing dragons existed as real animals. That part isn't a debate in science.
But, and this is where it gets interesting, there's a real scientific discovery behind the rumor. It's just not what people think.
This is where the name does a lot of damage, right?
Exactly. Scientists found fossils of giant flying reptiles from the age of dinosaurs. One of the famous ones connected to this whole rumor is called Cryodrocon boreas.
And if you hear that name quickly, especially online, you can see why people lose their minds.
Because it basically translates to frozen dragon of the north wind. The word dragon is right there. So someone reads that, skips the rest, and posts frozen dragon discovered like it's a fantasy creature locked in a glacier.
But Cryodrocon wasn't a dragon. It was a pterosaur, a real prehistoric flying reptile. The dragon part is just a dramatic naming choice, not proof of a mythical animal.
Let's talk about what Cryodrocon actually was, because the reality is still wild. Cryodrocon boreas lived something like 77 million years ago.
So, deep dinosaur era. And just to underline it, these weren't birds, and they weren't dragons. Pterosaurs were their own group of flying reptiles.
Some of these animals had enormous wingspans, around 10 meters, roughly 30 feet. That's not a little creature. That shadow crosses the ground and everyone looks up kind of big.
Which is why people are so eager to believe the dragon version. The true version is already close to unbelievable.
And no, they weren't breathing fire, and they weren't magical. They were animals. Strange ones, sure, but natural.
If you try to picture them, they can look almost alien compared to modern animals. Long necks, big skulls, thin bodies, and those huge wings, not feathered like birds, but built from muscle fibers and a skin membrane. Like living hang gliders, but with teeth and a very serious face.
And there's a hypothesis about how they live that makes them even more interesting. Some scientists think they hunted kind of like giant storks.
Which is a funny image until you remember the size.
Right. Walking around on land, scanning, then snapping up smaller animals, lizards, small mammals, and depending on the ecosystem, possibly even young dinosaurs.
So, why did the internet latch onto dragon? And why did the story turn into frozen dragons found in ice?
Because it's the perfect storm. A dramatic name, a fossil discovery, and then someone posts it with zero context and an even crazier headline. And once the headline spreads, nobody wants the boring clarification.
It's internet storytelling. People share images without checking the source. They copy captions from other posts. They add a little mystery, a little government cover-up flavor, and suddenly paleontology becomes mythology.
And this ties into the bigger point. Social media is built to promote what triggers strong emotion, shock, fear, outrage, intense curiosity.
The algorithm doesn't care what's true. It cares what you'll watch, what you'll comment on, what you'll send to a friend with, "Yo, look at this."
And when the world feels unstable, war headlines, protests, economic pressure, people want clean answers. Conspiracy content offers simple explanations for complicated problems.
So tonight we covered the big waves. War tensions, protests spreading fast, food fears online, and the frozen dragon story that keeps resurfacing.
Some fears come from very real events. Some come from confusion, missing context, or science getting turned into a clickbait legend.
And just to say it clearly, being curious isn't the problem. Curiosity is good. It's literally how science moves forward. The key is aiming that curiosity at the sources, the evidence, and the full story, not just the most dramatic caption.
Thanks for hanging out with us on the Red Conspiracy Channel. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and drop a comment with the next mystery you want us to dig into. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time on the Red Conspiracy Channel.